The other day, I was at a cafe waiting for my fiance to meet me there on her lunch break because we're cute like that. And as I was sitting there waiting, there was this little boy. And as he was playing, running around accidentally, but like in a very cute way, he tripped and he fell. Now, when he fell, he was fine. He looked around, and you can tell that he didn't see anyone that he recognized. And it took him a good couple of seconds to figure it out and to take it in. And then he started to cry. Quickly, his parents came, picked him up, hugged him, and made sure that he was okay. Now, not that I enjoy watching little kids fall, but here's what I found really interesting. When he fell, he was fine. It wasn't until he looked around, didn't see anyone, and felt alone is when he really started to cry. I don't think it's the falls in life that are necessarily scary. I think what's really scary is falling, looking up and realizing no one's there. Maybe one of the reasons we're so afraid to experience life is the fear of living it by ourselves. Maybe what we're really afraid of is experiencing everything that could happen right here, right now, alone. It's concerns like this that have led me to my calling to build community. In 2012, I started this wave of a movement called Oceans Deep. It's a team of individuals focused on creating space for personal growth through community development. Our mission, simply, is to create community, in layman's terms, to make sure people don't experience life alone. Now, this Oceans Deep story is actually inspired by a period of time in my life where I felt really alone. A couple years back, I had a really bad knee injury. And I grew up as a dancer my whole life, so not being able to do what I love to do, as well as be around the people that I love doing it with, it put me in a really lonely place. It was heartbreaking. I had to get knee surgery and then physical therapy. But I remember during the rehabilitation process, I had to do all these strengthening exercises, all focused on everything else but my knee. What I learned is that my injury wasn't because I had a bad knee. I became injured because the supporting muscles around my knee weren't strong enough. I didn't have a bad knee. My knee had a weak support system. What happens when we have a weak support system? What happens when we lack the strength of a community? Community is vital. It's important, essential. One of the ways that we build community is through this weekly event called House of Drums. Drums is an acronym that stands for Dancers Raw Underground Music Session. Its purpose is to bring people together through dance. We begin the night with what's called a community class. It's a free class for anybody and everybody in the community, hence the name community class. We have a different teacher with a different lesson each and every week, and it's to keep our minds open, but also for us, whatever we learn on the floor, we always try our best to apply it off the floor. Then after class, we have a live DJ and an open dance floor for the community to come and express themselves freely. What we find is that it's not only important to educate, but it's just as important to give people space so they can find themselves, lose themselves, and recreate themselves. What helps with this process, and what's really unique about House of Drums, is all the different flavors of dance that you get to experience. From hip-hop to house, Latin to African, dance hall to modern, and so on and so forth. The list goes on and on. We believe that despite our differences, if we can learn to dance together, we can learn to live together. And then towards the end of the night, we have what's called open floor, which is like an open mic night, but for all artistries of expression to come and perform. What we've learned is that when you give somebody a platform and celebrate them, instead of them being ashamed of their story, they're actually inspired to share their story. We create space for people to come and embrace their story, but also to express their story, because you never know who needs to hear your story, and you never know who feels just as alone as you do. And that's the genius behind community. That's the beauty within it. Community has a way of finding the lonely and the broken, connecting them with others that feel lonely and broken, bringing them together and letting them know and feel that they're not alone. Let's take this community, for example, the TEDxNSU community. Help me out. By a show of hands, how many people in this room have $1 million in their bank account right now? Okay. I see a couple people. We'll talk after, okay? And now, by a show of hands, how many of us know what it feels like to be broke? The struggle's real. But interesting, right? During times of struggle, failure, where we felt broken or literally broke, times that we felt alone, look around. We're never really alone. Because struggle and failure bring people together in ways that success cannot do. Because what do you get when you put a negative and a negative together? A positive, right? But also an equal sign. Maybe what we need most is to be connected with others that are just as broken, but just as beautiful and just as passionate about their story. Maybe to face the darkest hours of our lives right here, right now. We need to be surrounded by a community that reminds us we're not alone. Because when we know that if we fall, there'll be a hand to pick us up or arms to fall into. When we can stand before anything because we know that there's a community that stands behind us, that's when we can truly live. Because we're not afraid of life anymore. We look forward to living. When we're together is when we're most inspired, most courageous, and most willing to dive in, to go deep, oceans deep, and experience everything that could happen right here, right now. But the question of the day is, what is now? And how do we embrace that? You know, from the wise words from the famous theologian and great grandmaster and teacher from Kung Fu Panda. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why they call it the present. I want you to think of the present, today, right now, like a coin toss. When you flip a coin, there's a 50-50 chance of it being heads or tails. We don't know what it's going to be. Kind of like life. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to end up with our heads high or our tail between our legs, but not knowing, now that's living. Because one of the greatest gifts in life is a surprise. So let's live a little. Let's flip a coin. By show of hands, when I flip this coin, how many people think it's going to land on heads? All right. And on the flip side, how many people call tails? All right, so here's the deal. If you lose, you got to find the person closest to you that won and give them a hug. Okay, ready? Here we go. What do you think it is? But I want to show you something. And it's not what side the coin landed on. You see that feeling you have right now? That's being alive. Worried, excited, yet anxious to know the result, all at the same time. That's living, because it's not about what side the coin lands on. Like a coin toss, life is found in the toss. So to close, to bring it all together, I want to share with you a quick story. To honor this platform that I'm on, I want to share with you a little bit of my story. I was adopted, along with my two biological sisters. We were born in the Philippines, but raised in the United States. For me, growing up, I struggled a lot with abandonment issues, borderline identity issues. I was wondering, why me, or why not me, and who am I? But with the right encouragement, with the love of community, and with family, I finally made the decision that I was going to travel back to the motherland of the Philippines. I finally manned up. And I remember It was a super long flight. Like, I remember as we were landing, like all sorts of emotions going through me. Oh my goodness, I was tired, I was scared, I was angry, I was nervous, but I was excited all at the same time. It was about to go down. No, but literally the plane was landing, so like we were going down. The plane landed. I grabbed my belongings. I got off the plane. I walked off the plane. I got through the jetway, got into the airport. I wandered around the airport, trying to find baggage claim. Finally found baggage claim, grabbed my things. And as I walked outside to go finally see my family, I had this overwhelming feeling come over me because I looked out and I realized I was the same height as everybody. You know, in America, but here, my people, you know, like, I had found my people. I had found my biological community. That day, I didn't just face my greatest fear. I dove into it because when I finally saw my family face to face, I let go of all my baggage. Nothing mattered anymore because I was here, fully present and fully alive. And with my eyes full of tears, I hugged each and every one of them. I embraced this moment. My life changed forever because I took a chance. I had lived in the coin toss. Because of community, I've been able to experience some of my greatest accomplishments, but also face some of my greatest fears. And to be honest, I've made some serious comebacks in my life. I may have been injured, but because of community, I could still do things like this. And the best part about it, I'm just getting started. So after our conversation, my greatest hope and prayer is that you would be inspired to experience right here, right now. May you surround yourself with the love of community. May you dive in, go deep, oceans deep. May you live in the coin toss, and may you receive the gift of the present. Thank you.